The months-long off-season for SRO America competition ends next week when GT World Challenge America and a host of other series head to wine country just north of San Francisco for the first race weekend of the year. One of the series kicking off in California is Toyota GR Cup North America, which enters its third season of competition after 2 incredibly successful years. And just like last year, before wheels up on any flight to the track, we'll start the Toyota GR Cup season in iRacing as part of the Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League. This virtual championship follows the real-world schedule, 7 of North America's finest racing venues, but precedes the real racing by 1 week, often a harbinger of action to come. Returning esports drivers, real-world competitors mixed together in the ultimate virtual racing championship, and it all begins here at Sonoma Raceway. Everybody, my name's Kyle Heyer, and I'm joined by my co-host once again, Justin Prince. And Justin, for the second year running, SRO America and Toyota bring us this season-long competition.
It's great to be back for this season, especially with a lot of competitors returning, including some of your championship contenders, including last season's champion Michael Polasek. You have a lot of other competitors looking to keep up the speed like Yanni and many others. Newcomers, though, coming into the season to keep an eye on, like Brandon Hawken and a whole host of others on top of those real-world competitors. That is going to make things very competitive throughout the next few months to see who will come away with the championship. And mind you, this is all taking place, as you said, at Sonoma to start off this campaign just a week ahead of real-world competition. Your Continental track preview on screen. These drivers will be racing around the full layout here today. That run up to turn 2, one of the hard-braking opportunities today where several drivers could go off track in the early going. We've seen several drivers make contact off the start. Once they make their way up to turn 4, they go to the carousel section. And in that carousel section, to carry the right balance of speed without pushing off the racetrack, while also making sure not too slow to where you're put up to advantage by the time you get to turn 7 and 7A. 7 and 7A, one of the better passing opportunities if you don't get the good run to the carousel. As you see with the pictures, that was where a lot of the drivers went for some side-by-side racing before they went through turns 8, 8A, 9, all the way to turn 10, where they went off track plenty of times last season, pushing wide. Of course, turn 11, one of the brave opportunities for passes, where you'll see plenty of sends throughout this championship and this race today. And races.
And here's a look at the Toyota GR86 Cup Car. This is our weapon for competition here this season. About 228 horsepower, Continental slick tires, a little bit of aero from Toyota GR. Of course, there's some Segra 3D printed components on this car, Alcon brakes, JRI adjustable suspension. It's got all the gizmos to make it go quick, and all 40 drivers using the exact same equipment. Fixed setup here in iRacing for this competition, so there's going to be no meddling with spring rates or any of that nonsense. All 40 drivers have the same gear, and it's all about going fast, Justin. So excited to be here for the second year of this esports competition, and we'll head down to the racetrack here and get qualifying underway.
Yes, indeed, and it is a little bit of a quicker qualifying session compared to last season, where it was about 30 minutes to be able to set times, give or take, in the qualifying session. These drivers just have 10 minutes to set 4 qualifying laps through this season, and the big thing is, it's also shorter races. Going to be less fuel in the tank, so we're talking about things with race control. They expect the cars to be looser for this season as a result. Going to be lighter race cars throughout this championship, since you don't need to make it a full hour. You just need to make it 25 minutes per race, but it's still double the fun to be able to try and get points.
Yeah, that new format that you alluded to, 2 25-minute races versus the 1 60-minute race that we did last year. So this is a new debut of the format that we're doing. This is closer to the real-world format that they run, which is twin 45-minute races over the course of a weekend. The only difference, other than the race length, is that in the real world, you qualify again for that second race. Here today, just one qualifying. The second race is set by the finishing order of the first, Justin. So that means if you have a bad race 1, it's going to carry into race 2. No chance to make up for your losses in that first event.
It's going to be very hard to recover in the second race, absolutely. So it kind of puts emphasis on performing well if you want to be able to contend for the championship in each of the races. Michael Yanni, one of the drivers for a good example, missed a couple races last campaign, still finished 3rd in the point standings. He's here today, and if he does make all the races, I wouldn't be surprised if the championship's a lot tighter, especially with some of the names on the list. And this is one of the main contenders to try and see if he can rip away a title from Polasek, the defending title winner.
Yeah, there's Michael Polasek in that familiar green and blue number 45. Think back to the battle in the rain at VIR last year when they were slipping and sliding all over the place. This was not a very strong round for Polasek in 2024, though. We were looking just prior to this broadcast, 7th place last year. Doesn't sound all that bad, Justin, but if you're going to win this championship, you need to be in the top 5, I think almost every round, though you will be able to drop your worst 2 races of the 14 total in the championship.
It's going to be helpful just in case anything does go wrong. But remember, Polasek, who's got a lot of experience when it comes to style of racing on the platform, after that race essentially went on a string of 2nd or better essentially the rest of the campaign. He is someone that's going to be difficult to beat, someone that I think is just focused on one thing: getting decent points to start the season. Not doing that where you're wiggling and bobbling the race car in the race itself, and just trying at this point to start off with a good points day.
Yeah.
Didn't have the best of practice sessions either. He was down the order in the practice session a little bit for much of the session.
Yeah, really slow outlap here. He's already put down a time, but it's only 9th quick, so he's going to want to get a nice clean lap here. He's only going to get one more run at it here. Thomas Belleman just went to the top of the board in the number 1 car, fittingly numbered. And he's a 19-year-old out of Hillsborough, California, so this is sort of a home event for him as far as the season goes.
He's someone to keep an eye on because he was the number 1 overall pick in the Racing Prodigy draft for Prodigy 3, which starts off next week as well for him. So he's another one of those drivers that originally was born in France, actually, but also had to come from an off-racing family that be able to build his path through sim racing and through different spec series to be able to then get a chance in the sim racing world, which then led to him through Racing Prodigy to be able to get the real world opportunities starting off in next week for that respective series. So he's someone that's very quick in the sim, one of the better drivers that you'll see, and also one of the drivers I want to be surprised in the top 5 conversation points. But it's also one of the many drivers looking to make flashes in real world from the sim to reality path.
And same story here for Camden Hibbett, another one of those Racing Prodigy drivers, 15-year-old out of Galena, Ohio. You want to talk about young talent, this driver is making waves. I'm familiar with him from a couple different eSports championships that I'm involved with across the iRacing service. And Camden has made his mark not only in the sim, but in the real world as well. And he's currently 2nd on the board here with just 3 minutes left in qualifying.
Yeah, looking very solid, absolutely. One of the drivers that works with William eSports. But interesting enough, has also got himself a couple USAC Midwest Thunder regional titles in his repertoire on top of the road course racing experience in real life for building his chances last year to that series. So I think this should be a fun season to see a lot of those drivers making that transition from sim to reality, making some flashes here, along with the many drivers we'll see who race in the real world in general in these cars as well.
Yeah, we can draw some attention to those because we have a number of real world competitors that have joined us here for this round. Jackson Tovo and Ethan Tovo, young brothers that have joined us. They debuted in GR Cup North America last year at VIR at just 14 years old. They had turned 14 that race weekend, and it was their first time driving tin top cars at all. They had come from a karting background and small formula cars, but had then moved into the Toyota GR Cup North America series. You're looking at Jackson out of Warrenville, Illinois, not far from me actually, and Ethan Tovo, same story here as he heads up the hill. And then of course Jack Woodfin in the number 11 out of Richmond, Virginia. He's a real world competitor for the RVA Graphics by Speed Syndicates team. He's headed up the front straightaway right now.
Have to find some speed because they're right now with a 1 minute 45 second bracket in the session. They were towards the bottom, I will say, in the practice, but I think it's about having fun in their case, to be able to try and see what they can do, be able to try and perform, see what happens on the racetrack compared to the real world counterparts. You also have some of the other teams making returns, such as those from ERA, which now actually has connections to the eNASCAR Coco iRacing series. They added a team to that series. Andre Castro, once again back to perform.
Yeah, up to 4th place. He didn't have a time in until just now. That was concerning me because we have 39 cars in this field. He didn't really want to start that deep in the field. Big curb jump there. It's not going to matter. He's going to go for a slide. Of course, but he wouldn't have had time to finish this lap anyways because we're using sort of the iRacing heat format here. So as soon as qualifying, the timer hits 0, we advance to race time here. So we're going to get right to it in just about 45 seconds. Brett Gardner in the 51. Nice livery on this car. Currently P20. So many others we haven't talked about that are returning this season. Ben Blaustein in the 86. We haven't talked about him. Or Wan Shi Lin in the number 30 is back. Chris Wetz. Who else have we got here? Josh Soto joined us for a couple rounds last season. He's here as well. Miguel Colon in the 87. So there is so many drivers to go over, and it's going to be a more frantic competition this year, Justin, with this new format.
I think so as well, as many of these drivers just finish up the qualifying laps here. You're throwing into the mix a lot of people looking to prove they can perform. Christopher Severt, someone we've seen good speed from last season at times, had not put in a time until just a second ago to get to 13th. Nate Stewart, now in the Coke Series. Right now amongst the drivers, I wouldn't be surprised to watch for them in pack. And will the luck fall in the hands of drivers that we've seen had bad luck, like Nicholas Sudik, once again starting in the back of the field? We'll see that running order soon. Yeah,
another one of those real-world drivers, Aiden Kirk for Tech Sport Racing, starting towards the tail as well. So that's going to be a lot of work for them to make up here. These 25-minute races will be roughly 15 laps or so, but again, it's done by the time constraint, not the laps constraint. But one last look here at the B-roll around the facility here. All the elevation, 160 feet of elevation change over the course of a lap. So you go up and down in a hurry here. And that carousel, turn number 6, we talked about it a little bit during qualifying, a little bit pre-race. This huge drop down this hill, the track falls away. You get a compression right at the tail end here as you hit what is the Sonoma drag strip before you head down to the hairpin at the end of the back straightaway. That's turn 7 and 7A. Great passing opportunity, but as we covered in the Continental Track preview, it's a trouble spot, a pinch point. Even though the track is 150 feet wide, the line there is very narrow.
Yeah, you basically have to run up on the inside with that curbing. Make sure you don't push up into competitors if you're side by side. There's a lot of opportunity to be able to go for a dive bomb, so to speak, and make a pass there. It should be interesting to see who is able to build up some of the runs there with the short straight line. As well in that final hairpin, that's going to be the fun time here today where a lot of passes are going to happen before that start and finish line. Yeah,
this is round 1, race 1. We'll have race 2 immediately following this. Again, 2 25-minute races back to back. This is the first of 7 rounds this season. You can pretty safely tune in a week prior to any real-world Toyota GR Cup North America race and see the eSports equivalent a week ahead of time. So about 7 days from now, we'll be in Sonoma, California, calling the real thing. It'll be DJ Clark alongside me there, but really, really excited to get back on the road for the motorsports season. And with that, let's head down to the racetrack here. We'll get our starting grid going in just a moment's time. We'll have a full pace lap to get the Continental tires up to temperature here, but it is time to bring us through the starting lineup. And Justin, why don't you kick things off with the opening row?
Yes, indeed. Up on the front row after a strong qualifying session, it will be today Thomas Bellman on the pole, and Camden Hibbett will start alongside 1 and 2 for the Racing Prodigy representatives. Then it's Michael Yanni who will start in row 2. Andre Castro, one of the returning drivers, in 4th position. Your defending champion, Michael Polasek, starts in 5th spot. Then in the 6th position, it will be Christian Meniz. Then Jason Landry starts row 4 alongside Kevin Rold, one of the machines in the field. Brendan Hawkin, keep an eye on him throughout this campaign. The Canadian, expect to be contender. He'll start alongside Nick Yanni to round out your top 10, Kyle.
And starting in 11th place, it's Blake Townend back again for a second season in the number 57. Miguel Colon also back for another run at the GR Cup Esports Championship in the number 87. Chris Sebert in the number 39. Rolls off 13th place alongside Nate Stewart in the number 05 in 14th place. Mauricio Lozano in the number 18 rolls off 15th place. Aiden McConaughey in the 71 starts in 16th. In 17th place, it's Yiling Huang in the number 28 and Michael Montello in the number 65. Rounding out the top 20, Clay Morris and Aaron Smith. Justin, that's the top half of your field.
Brett Gardner starts in the next spot. He'll start alongside Josh Rousseau. Surprising run for qualifying 22nd. Jake Cummings, now one of the many Tech Sport drivers in 23rd. Cole Hooper will start in 24th, a newcomer. Then it's John Lazon will start in 25th position. Ben Blaustein, we talked about his name, in 26th. Russell Soto will start in 27th. Then alongside him in the field, it will be Edwin Onofre. Alex Penn starts 29th position, and then Nicholas Sudik looking for a lot of luck at the pink machine in 30th.
Wan Shi Lin rolls off 31st in the number 30 car. Major Monsivice in the number 41 starts in 32nd place. And it's Chris Wetz in 33rd, Charles Wimbley in 34th. As we make our way towards the tail end of the field, Andrew Sharp, Aiden Kirk, Ethan and Jackson Tovo, the brothers, starting in row number 19, and Jack Woodfin brings up the rear of the field. That is your starting lineup here for the first round of the Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League for 2025. It's time to go racing. 2 25-minute races back-to-back here. It's time to kick things off in Sonoma, California, here at iRacing, a week prior to the real world event. Flag is in the hands of the iRacing starter. Thomas Belleman is going to take us to the green. Here we go. Green flag flies and we're underway. The Toyota GR Cup North America Esports League out here in Sonoma, California. 3 wide in the middle of the field as they head up towards the opening couple of corners. It gets tight up here at the top of the hill.
Already getting a couple pinches right now. How about offset 3 wide for a couple split seconds there? Everyone's just trying to keep it clean, keep it on the racetrack, trying to make sure they don't get any door bangs, lose lots of time. Nick Yanni loses the time. A lot of curb that time picked up on the pass by Castro, as some drivers like Michael Yanni just try and get aggressive and get Polasek off into the grass on the Sen.
A lot of drivers trying to find their way around the course here in the opening moments when it's so tight, but I think everyone's kept it the right direction so far, which is great to see. The first run down here through the carousel, Belleman leads Hibbett.
Those two are starting to pull away, actually. A great start for Belleman and Hibbett as they try and break away with some of the squabbling there. Oh, and a lot of people going wide in the mid-pack. That is 3-4 wide in the heart of the field. This is not going to work out if you don't straighten this out. Aaron Smith just saying, I'm going to get out of this as they door bang.
Yeah, this is really tight here. They were 4 wide for a moment. Look at the 50 of Russell Soto on the tailpipes of a couple different drivers there. Now you got to get single file. You cannot go through the S's side by side and carry any sort of reasonable speed. Wan Shi Lin's got a great view of this off the nose of his blue and orange number 30. Look how tight of a squeeze that was for Ben Blaustein.
Blaustein just trying to make his way through all this. Wan Shi Lin, at this point, just trying to settle on in without chaotic things already getting after starting 31st. It's been a wild start to say the very least, but we expect it to be wild with these drivers not having as much time to work with. They have to go if they want spots for points.
Even scrapping back here for 34th place, a little tight there at the exit of the corner for Sudik in the number 78, but they have gotten it sorted out. At the front of the field, Belleman leads the way. Camden Hibbett runs second, then Castro, Yanni, Polasek 4th and 5th. That was your battle for the title last season, and looks like they're going to resume their fight inside the top 5 here early.
Yeah, Michael Polasek did say, when I asked a couple drivers in the consensus for the field, the response from Polasek was quite simple. It'll be one of the races of all time. That kind of states the oh, wow, that's a hard contact. That is not good. A lot of drivers destroyed.
Yeah, that is the 77 of John Lausen. He's one of the few involved in that crash at the top of the hill. Let's go back and see what happened here. And I think it happened up the road from the 77. He was late to the party.
And I think the caution was drawn out from that too, with that being a track blocker. That was right across the center of the racetrack, and not a surprise, I think, in that sequence to see a yellow with at least 4, 5, 6 cars just having no place to go, just turned it coming out of the corner up the hill, and that comes right back across the racetrack, no chance to react.
Yeah, Michael Montello, Mauricio Lozano, Brett Gardner, John Lausen all involved in that, and you drew attention to the fact that we now have a safety car out. Now, this was something that we didn't run into at all last year, though it was an option. We had that as an option to deploy the safety car should we need it. We didn't need it last season. We do right now. So the pace car is going to come out and pick up the field and bunch everybody back up. But 4 drivers out in this opening collision.
Yeah, this is going to change things up, I think, in terms of how drivers have to approach things, because it's going to burn into the time, in theory, you have on the clock. So for a lot of drivers, this is going to be a chance to be able to reset. And for other cases here, this may raise the urgency for some of the drivers because they won't have as many laps to be able to go as
Thomas Belleman, the race leader, just went off at turn 1.
Yeah, that's not a great pace lap for him right now.
No, I'd say not. But again, this is a little, I don't think I was anticipating this, and this was actually an automated yellow, which I didn't know could happen on a road course in iRacing. But either way, probably needed, if we're honest. So bunch them back up and turn them loose. Finian DeCuna behind the scenes is our race control official, and he'll shut those lights off as soon as we can. We'll get back underway. But it creates an interesting scenario here because it's going to give some drivers an opportunity to get their cars repaired. Now, those that were involved in the collision, I think Lozano's car is totally destroyed. You see it sitting on the left front corner there. Michael Montello, he might be able to get that car back in the field.
I think he towed, though, so it's going to be a lengthy tow of at least a few minutes. So at this point, if you come back to the racetrack, it's just damage control for track position for the next race, and that's not going to be as easy for a lot of these drivers. They are absolutely decimated.
Yes.
Again, let's take a look at this again.
So it's the 18, this teal and yellow car off the bumper. I think that's the 48 ahead of him, or right behind him. They just get together. Not really much that any of these trailing drivers could do. That was a big hit there for some of those cars. Yeah, just right at the top.
Yeah, quite simply. You know that saying where you might be playing it careful, trying to make sure you don't make contact yourself? Clay Morris, in that case, just was all over the back bumper. No chance to be able to react to an earlier braking mark at that point. That led to, I think, that bottleneck situation. And now we see the field just trying to regroup and get themselves all situated before we get a restart going here in about, I think, a lap or so.
So 6 minutes elapsed. We've still got plenty of racing to go. I think this is going to give Michael Polasek a great opportunity on this restart to get all over the tailpipes of Michael Yanni. He was a couple seconds behind right before that yellow flag. There's another couple drivers I wanted to draw some attention to. Brandon Hawken in this number 98, running in 8th place at the moment. I've seen him in some other eSports championships be extremely competitive. New entry this season, I believe. And running 8th right now. I think he's got a good shot at making up some spots on this restart as well.
Yeah, a little surprised he hasn't made up as much ground as I thought up to start. He's ran a lot in regards to the road scene. Red Bull Remasters, had some experience calling races with them, meeting in person there. One of the happiest people you will meet on the platform whenever you talk to our broadcasters, because his personality has been able to help drive him forward, along with the fact he is very fast. He also, in the past couple years, tried to make some runs in the eNASCAR scene to be able to build up that profile, but has also worked with some big teams in this style of racing. So for Brandon Hawken, I think it shouldn't be a shock to see him a contender up front in the later stages as this race goes on.
You're restarting this lap. Lights are out on the safety car. That signifies that we'll be restarting this next time around. So single file restarts here like you would in the real World Series. And Camden Hibbett already keeping those Continental tires warm, getting ready to pounce. Andre Castro is right up at the front last season here in this race. Seems to sync really well with this racetrack. Hails out of New York, is a long way from home virtually here today, but probably sitting in his living room if I had to take a guess.
Also made some starts in NASCAR Xfinity Series in Chicago, went to school, in fact, Castro did in Chicago. And we've seen him do well on these tracks. I know Jesse Owuji probably watching, cheering him on here today in the ERA machine with the big splash he's been able to make on top of the Omega Cup races that Owuji and his company with ERA does hold on the oval side.
So getting set to restart here. Field works their way through turn 10. That was an area at speed that can get you into trouble. You run wide there. There's no paved runoff here with the exception of turn 7, really. So pace car ducks in. Thomas Belleman is in command here, and the acceleration zone is right as the short hairpin rejoins the racetrack, so he'll have to wait here for just a moment. It's going to bunch the field up a little bit. But 16 minutes on the clock here in race number 1, and we're back underway in the Toyota GR Cup North America Esports League. Belleman fires off. He's got Hibbett, Castro, Yanni, Polasek tight behind.
All right, a little bit of racing battling in the edge of the top 10, but I think Hibbett timed this up pretty well just to be able to stay lockstep. Other drivers, though, Nate Stewart taking advantage, already up +3 in the race in general here. Just trying to get more points, try and get more spots as Nick Yanni is under attack in one of the Copeland Motorsport paint schemes, rather one of the PT Autosport cars.
Yep. Nate Stewart a little bit off the apex there. He had some pressure from Miguel Colon in that 21. He's going to get to the inside here at turn 5. That was tight between these two. Chris Everett watching from behind, trying to poke the nose down here in the carousel.
Yeah, just pick his spots. That's the big thing. As the wiper blades, for some reason, go wild. It's not raining today here in Sonoma, but why not?
Hasn't rained in 6 months at Sonoma, probably. Look at the grass. It needs a little water here and there.
Yeah, but hey, usually in the springtime in real life, usually is very green here in Sonoma. But some of these other drivers at this point coming out towards Sector 3, just trying to get back into the rhythm of things. And that's the tough thing when you have a caution period. You're not expecting that, say, on a road course for some drivers. You have to get back in that rhythm, and this is a rhythmistic racetrack and a rhythmistic car to be able to keep yourself at speed. And to be able to keep yourself moving at speed, you have to be able to keep in that rhythm and flow. And a lot of drivers might not be ready for, say, a restart situation. We're seeing a lot of drivers taking advantage of those who are used to it from the stock car side.
Nick Yanni in the 24, up into 11th place. He's got Nate Stewart right behind him. Up at the front, Thomas Belleman has been putting some distance on Camden Hibbett, who has a lot of pressure from Andre Castro. And Castro and Belleman were two of the drivers that fought up at the pointy end alongside Ethan Lampe last year, if you recall, from the opening round here at Sonoma.
A lot can change the course of the year. I think Castro has some good momentum, good setup, because he got the diamond line down. And when you get that diamond down, you can make passes like that. Good setup, good move.
Castro to second place. Hibbett's going to tuck in right ahead of Yanni and goes to cover the 45 on the run down to the carousel. And Polasek watching all this lick at the lips. It's like the dorsal fin in the ocean here as that green and blue car sits awaiting an opportunity to pass. Whoa, someone went way off in the background. That was Jason Landry off in the weeds. Oh, sorry, that was Kevin Rold, rather.
Yeah, one of the returning drivers, and it's actually with an organization called Days Competition, based in Metro Detroit. Started off around 2023-ish, and it's now picked up essentially with the series with a full sponsorship. Considered by the team the enthusiast engineer, as a passionate driver that turned to sim racing in a serious pursuit, and also has raced with their organization that's looking to expand into the sim racing world. They're one of the teams that reached out with Days X Super Lab eSports team, also adding Russell Soto to their lineup for this campaign that races a lot at various different road courses in the U.S. and, of course, races in endurance competition.
Let's look at Russell Soto, the team car there, 24-year-old out of Ann Arbor, Michigan. Oh, a little contact to the wall for Cole Hooper just behind. Just a little grazing of the concrete there. He's right alongside the 70 of Aaron Smith. Tight quarters here on this front straightaway. You get walled in, and then this run up the hill, it is full throttle in a GR Cup car. Braking very late, got the gravity assist on the run up the hill. Climb that curb on the apex. Cole's gonna be a little wide, and Wan Shi Lin looking to bite as well.
Hooper, one of the drivers, seen a lot more of the oval side of the iRacing experience. Usually somebody that we see a bit more on the aggressive side. That was a little aggressive on the slide. But we know Lin, who's already up about 10 spots, a lot more patient, a lot more consistent on his marks to be able to set things up, has been just methodically marching his way through this pack over the course of the 7 laps or so.
Alex Penn in the 22, rocking the Skip Barber Racing School livery of SRO America's partners. And right in the back, there's Ben Blaustein in the 86, changing numbers. He was the 41 last season, but he joins us again, this time moving over to what I would think would be the most preferred number in the field in a field full of GR86s.
Yeah, why not? But Blaustein at this point, also one of those I think just trying to get out of the treadmill of the same spot here, but doesn't want to over push it in spots that are not passing opportunities like this section right here. Unless you have a mistake, like we just seen with Alex Penn, you can't normally make the pass and be able to set things up. You have to be able to get it stick, and because you get more speed on the outside, like Alex Penn just did, it puts you up for grabs for the next corner where everybody else likes to dive bomb and go for a send like Charles Wembley.
Out of Mooresville, North Carolina. He went for it though, didn't he? 3 wide on the entrance to 11 there.
Yeah, exactly here, Kyle. And that's the big thing. You have to be smart on the choice zone when you go side by side, because one wrong choice puts you up for grabs for that big passing opportunity for everybody else that will take that spot for granted.
Just about 11 minutes to go in this first of 2 races, and Thomas Belleman has no pressure from Andre Castro. Though last time around, Castro was the tiniest bit quicker. Left side of your screen is previous lap time, 143.672, 143.624, almost dead even.
Yes, indeed. It's been dominant so far for Billman. Funnily enough, in his karting days around 2018, 2019-ish in this region, this is a home race for him. He actually was a part of the karting school here at Sonoma Raceway, so this is a track he should be very familiar with. We've seen and talked about it already with the speed last season, and it's carrying over even more so with all the resume building he's done throughout 2024 leading into 2025. Castro, we've seen have similar pace behind him in this race last season with top 3 speed and some of the battling. Fell off on the long run, remember. Bellman seems to have that long run pace dialed in.
One of the things I love about Camden Hibbett, he's also tuned into the production and given us an idea of what his heart rate is doing right now. He's got a heart rate monitor on his camera for us. 123 BPM right now. That's like a mile jog, isn't it? Maybe a little more than that. But, you know, the cool thing about this is I see Camden race weekly at another championship where he's consistently at the pointy end battling for the lead, and it's in the 90s. Right now, he is amped up. He might look calm, cool, and collected, but this is the highest I've ever seen his heart rate in a battle this big and this important.
Yeah, in practice and during the driver's meet was keeping an eye on that and seeing that picture. It was more so in the 80s. So it's a lot more higher now that the intensity level's ramped up. And the fact that he's right now on the podium, for one. But two, if he slips up, Michael Yanni's right on his rear end, providing a lot of pressure. He cannot let up even a little bit. Otherwise, one of the rear-world racers from PT Autosport like Yanni is just going to take advantage quickly.
Yeah, he's all over him now on the run down to turn 7. And see if Camden goes defensive. He'll leave the lane open. Will Yanni try to go up the inside? Not late enough on the brakes. Remember, these cars do have Bosch Motorsport ABS. These stop so well that it's very, very hard to get out and just outbrake somebody, because you're stomping the pedal to the floor and the computer does the rest, really, alongside those Alcon brakes. That was actually a topic of discussion. There's a few different brake pad friction compounds, and some drivers were actually having a hard time getting their sim rig brake pedal to go all the way to the floor, because that's not something you typically would do in a car without ABS, which might be some of the other cars you're running in racing simulators.
Yeah, and in many cases, that's a deep send. That ABS definitely probably helped there with those Alcon brakes to make that car stick without sliding. That was near a big slide.
Oh,
my goodness.
That was really tight. I didn't think they were going to come out of that in one piece, actually. Go back and have a look at that.
I think that emphasizes your point that you're trying to make there. Normally, in some cars, even 50%, you lock up the tire. In this case, just had to see the opening, say, this is my best chance, hope it sticks without making contact. Thankfully, the ABS on those Alcon brakes just slowed it down just enough, even with the little wiggle with the looseness we talked about with the fuel limit. Yanni able to make the pass, make the car stick without burning up his stuff.
Yeah, so really this battle is now Castro back to Kevin Rold in 6th place. They're still losing a little time to Thomas Bellman. Look at Polasek trying to get to the inside of Hibbett. Pressure's on.
Absolutely, pressure's on. Kevin Rold having a great run, mind you, to give a shout out in this lead pack too, but at this point, everyone taking advantage when it comes to Hibbett now with those passing chances. As mentioned, someone breaks your rhythm, everyone else says, hey, I want to join in, get some points as well, get some passes done like Polasek here with a bit of a squeeze off the track.
See if he'll tuck in line here, if he'll try to keep the overlap. Doesn't have a choice. He's got Kevin Rold under his rear wing as well. See the note from Race Control about some investigations here. No penalties yet from car-to-car contact, which is good to see. The only 4 cars that were out were Lausen, Gardner, Montello, Lozano. All but Lozano have gotten back on course.
Great to see them getting, oh, here we go again. And that was just, I'm just going to take the incident point. Here's the thing, there is a 15-point incident limit for those who go off track, use the track limits in advantageous ways, like you can argue that with the carrying of speed, and then you have to start serving penalties. You can only do that so much before the stewards in sim will say, you've got to come down to pit road. So Polasek going to have to be a little bit more careful in that.
A little bit of a gain for Castro that time through. 2/10 on Belleman. But everyone's kind of running nicely, neatly astern for now after the opening chaos of the first few laps. It's just amazing how the same players kind of find their way to the top. A bit deeper in the field, Andrew Sharp. Whoop, look at this. This is a bit slipping and sliding here. Cole Hooper's got the rear end of that car sliding around. Chris Wetz, Andrew Sharp, and Nick Sudik side by side.
On the returning drivers battling, a different look for Andrew Sharp this season in that 88 machine. Sudik, the luck's been more on his side in terms of incidents, but he's not been able to move forward here. Yeah, Wetz can have some fun as well. I think at this point we've seen Wetz battle around these spots last season. It's been a bit more surprising thing for Sharp because he's someone in the league scene in series like PRL that's done very well, where this is one of his best cars, where he's been a league champion in this car. But today has just been stuck in place, has not been able to move its way through this field with how on top of each other people are pace-wise in this mid-pack.
Yeah, back here 28th, 29th, 30th. Still trying to get the most they can out of these cars. 7th place battle heating up here. Here's Jason Landry in the 5 under fire from Brendan Hawken. Both in the GR House livery. And Christian Moniz in the 95. That's the blue, red, and white car just in trail. Blake Townend we saw last season a number of times out of Winnipeg, Canada.
Yeah, Townend was really good. Oh, hold on, just up the road, Jason Landry, Brendan Hawken are trading paint. Brendan Hawken just about got squished into the wall on the crossover to get alongside Landry. I think he may have scraped the blue cone, and they are still not backing down.
Well, over the crest here at turn 4, off to the rumble strip here. Now the advantage goes back to Landry with the right-hander. He should clear him. Hawken's going to try to do the over-under, and behind, here comes Nick Yanni in the 24 on Townend. Someone lit the fuse back here, didn't they?
I mean, we're down to less than 4 minutes to go. I think the fuse has to be lit if you're a driver right now. If you want to be able to battle for a top 10, get yourself solid points before the second race of the day, gotta go. And at this point, some drivers like Castro know Yanni's got the speed and wants to be able to get one more step on this podium and set him up on a cross. Gotta be ready on the defensive moves.
Yeah, he's looking left, looking right, trying to find a way around. Setting him up for a pass at turn 11. That's really the best two places to make a move, 7 and 11. If you don't get it done at one end of the track, you can try the other. But look at how good Castro is through the S's. Pulled the gap on him here. A little touch on the brakes, get the nose weighed down. Some weight on those Continental tires. He's in the dirt, though. And Yanni's too far back, I think.
Yeah, at this point, too risky to send it like you did before. Need to be an hour quarter car length closer to realistic. We go for the lunge. There's a lunge though. Bit of an aggressive 3 wide. Soto getting pushed up. Aiden Conahay up the middle. Jake Cummings making a couple spots up with that set.
Yeah, 3 wide there into 11. Like I said, it's a great passing opportunity, but it's sort of like you're in queue, you're in line waiting to make your move, and you get a couple of drivers that are all nose to tail. Every one of them is going to try to make a move. Back to the Hawken and Landry battle, slipping and sliding, leaving tire marks in turn 2.
Oh, that was a little bit naughty on the squeeze, though. Landry is not leaving a lot of space for that before. Now Hawken just giving him the business back.
Oh, trouble behind him. Townend's in the fence.
That's going to see a lot of contact for Townend. Still trying to get regrouped there. Nick Yanni still in the gravel trap as well. I think it was similar to what we've seen before that caused the caution initially in this run. Coming up the hillside, speed differential with the checkup effect. And in this case, Nick Yanni goes a little bit more quicker, hits the back of the Townend, but Nate Stewart is behind him in this case. Pushes them both forward. Stewart picks up the spots while Yanni picks up the damage.
And we're checked back in after all those replays. We're still door-to-door for 7th place between these two cars, Hawken and Landry. And this time, Hawken pulls clear of the 5, so he's completed that pass.
I don't know if it's done quite yet here. Hawken just had to get a lot of aggressiveness out there with how much Landry had been squeezing, I think, to the left side here to some of the air battling there. But I think this is now the chance for Hawken to finally get himself to run away here, try and break away, get things calmed down in the final minute. This race has flown on by.
Yeah, we actually should be. There it is, white flag. This is the final time around here. investigation for that collision we saw at turn 4. That really has been the trouble spot today for Thomas Belleman. No pressure from behind. Castro and Yanni, though, battle for second on the grid. Now remember, there are cash prizes on the line. First place in this race, $200. Second is $150. Third is $100. Season championship, $1,750 for first. So you're going to want to get by this guy. It's a $50 extra payday for Yanni if he can do the difference here.
Yeah, a lot you can do with $50 extra to say the very least, not to get into the details, but hey, Michael Yanni also knows if he wants to be able to get some buffer on Polasek, if he's thinking about that big picture and also trying to keep up with Belleman, depending on what happens, you have to get the spot. And the tough thing is he's not close enough to be able to realistically get there without forcing Castro off the line without contact right now. Oh, that's going to open it.
And just like that, Yanni takes the spot away, picks the pocket of Andre Castro. Just one little slip is all it took, and there goes second place.
Have you ever heard of the phrase when I say pressurize the mistake? He pressurized the mistake there. Castro just thinking about what was happening with Yanni, carried too much speed. Great save, but it cost him $50.
Yep, he'll drop into third place. It'll still be a podium if he can hold it together for just a few more corners. Thomas Belleman in the number 1. He has been so rock solid at Sonoma. There are 14 races in this championship among 7 rounds. For Thomas Belleman, the first race of 14 will be a number 1 in that column. Win for Thomas Belleman, race 1, round 1. For Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League, Yanni Castro second and third. As the rest of the field comes to the stripe, there's a battle behind between Rold and Hibbett. Rold stole top 5 away. Little contact after the checkers between those two.
Apologies over the radio there, as you don't expect that right after the line. But Brian Hawkins still held on to a top 10. Quietly, I think, in all this, the 95. And as he's moved all the way up through the field, able to hold on to the top 10. Nate Stork just got that top 10, also as the rest of the field still coming across the line.
Jackson Tovo and Jack Woodfin come across near dead heat between those two. Aiden Kirk, another one of the real-world drivers that runs for Tech Sport Racing. I think he's on for more races this season. See some damage on that car, so he's been through the ringer just a little bit. But checkered flag on our first race of 2 here for this opening round. And while we've got a moment, let's have a look here at our race results. That was a fun one here. Really no battle for the lead, though. It was a dominant performance there by Belleman.
Yeah, 1.6 seconds, the gap in the very end. Should be a surprise when you talk about what he's been able to do in the past year. Carry momentum all through this one. But a lot of drivers, I think, are going to have to make some big efforts to climb back up to this field with how things went here in race number 1. A lot of drivers stuck in place that weren't able to get the position.
Yeah, and I think the other challenge as well, you know, we need to get a lot of time to look at those results before the session ticks over here. But Justin, you know, we learned a lot about turn 4 in particular. That is a tricky turn. I didn't expect that to be the trouble spot in this race. We didn't really highlight it much in the Continental Track preview. It's 7 and 11. Those are your passing spots, but it seems to be all the places that you can't pass where people are trying that has actually been the problem tonight.
From the checkup effects, absolutely, and that's the tough thing when it comes to Sonoma, because you have that elevation change, but also when it comes to some of those battles, you can't necessarily just drive in front of the person and through the person in front of you. You have to be able to react to that. In some cases, some drivers may not be able to see what's going on in terms of some of the side-by-side that's causing a checkup, and it led to 2 big incidents in this race alone, including really our first caution flag of the season. So I think for many of these drivers, it's just going to be about making sure they have a little bit of cautious aggression and be ready in those stack-up situations for bumper to bumper, and be ready in case there's a bit more of a slow-up in those uphill sections. Turn 2, I think you can put the same kind of thought process to that.
You mentioned first caution of the season. We haven't seen one ever in this championship yet because we had the option to deploy them always manually if we need to, but that was an automated yellow flag to bring the field down and reset for the restart. No penalties issued in that race amongst all the contact that we saw. Of course, drivers can protest after the race as well, and that the stewards will go look at it post-race. But as far as the big crashes, we just saw the one at turn 4 and a couple others that were a little bit smaller scale. What did we learn, though, as far as the start of the race? It was aggressive, but fairly clean for the opening laps. Our driver's going to ramp it up a little for the second one.
I think for a lot of the drivers, the excitement level is definitely going to be higher because now you've got yourself set up for one more race. You know there's more points on the line. You still know there's a reset. For some of the drivers, I think for Hibbett, for Brandon Hawken, absolutely, there's going to be a bit more aggression because you know if you don't have that aggression to keep in the lead pack, it's going to be a hard case to keep up to the lead pack. For many of the other drivers like Yanni Polasek, I think it's a little bit more calmer knowing what's the situation here up front and to be able to set things up here with this car. Also making sure one thing for sure, make sure you prepare with those Alcon brakes. Make sure you're able to hold the brakes, be able to keep those brakes settled down, and be able to carry your car around this racetrack.
And have another look at the Continental Track preview before we launch into race 2 here. Again, 2.53 miles, 12 turns, but that elevation change. Turn 3A, which is where we've seen that trouble so far. The reason why I think it's a trouble spot, Justin, you're coming over a crest. The car gets very light. We see cars all the time in the real world almost turn over because they hit that big curb on the apex. The car is light, center gravity's real high off the ground, and it's very easy to lose grip there at that crest. Same story heading down into turn 6. It's very, very downhill there. There is a crest. After you come out of 5, you then start to go downhill. And then 7-7A, that crucial spot where we saw Andre Castro lose a position on the final lap. Again, you have to be perfect here. Look at last year, how tight it can get. Big squeeze there for Miguel Colon last season. Turn 10, we saw a lot of this running off course. A very, very fast corner. These cars have some downforce, Justin, but not enough to stick you to the road like it's a prototype.
Exactly. In turn 11, we already seen plenty of dives, plenty of chances for contact as well if you aren't careful in that section. And we've seen some drivers be really bold with 3 wide in that area. I think today, in race 2, we may see something similar, if not a little bit more intense from some of these drivers, especially if they didn't have a good start to the season in race 1. Race 2 going to be extremely important for some of these drivers if they want to keep up with the championship. And of course, don't want to be already thinking about drop weeks. You do not want to be thinking about drop weeks in March when the season doesn't wrap up all the way until October.
That's a great point. And remember, it's 14 races in 7 rounds. You only get to drop 2 races, so that's the equivalent of 1 round. So if you are going to expect to win this championship, you better not be dropping, you should be dropping 3rds and 4ths, not, 20ths and 25ths. You don't want to even have those in your record. If you're wondering when that second race is, it's now. 10 seconds left here in the warm-up, and we'll go racing in just a moment's time for our second and final race of this opening round of competition in the Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League. Again, Kyle Heyer joined by Justin Prince, Vinny DeCuna pushing some buttons behind the scenes to keep the racetrack clean and fair. And big thanks again to Toyota and Toyota GR Cup North America for putting this on and also producing the prizes for these drivers. And again, the cash prizing is one of the things that might not be at the forefront of your mind in the moment, but it's certainly going to be something drivers are chasing with that nearly $2,000 grand prize at the end of the season. And likely, if you're battling for the championship, you've won a number of individual races, Justin. So pretty good payday here in this series.
Absolutely, but keep in mind, have to make sure you also get the starts in to make sure you stay in that pay window, get the points, be able to contend for said championship. So if you're amongst those consistently here, you absolutely can get a great payday and get yourself a great spot for the championship.
So cars are gritting up and getting ready to pace here for the second race of the afternoon here. Always loved the think outside the oval for Sonoma from the SMI branding there. But again, 39 cars, and at the very tail of the field, Mauricio Lozano was the only driver that was unable to complete the first race after that big crash on the second lap around. So hopefully he can make up some spots. Michael Montella, Brett Gardner, and John Lausen also hoping to make up some big ground here in this race.
Lozano did say with that incident that he did hold his brakes at 100%, but in his words, the car was already cooked. Now we'll see if he's going to be able to cook from the shotgun position.
We'll see what he's got here. As the field works their way around the racetrack here, your starting grid is on the left-hand side of your screen. It is the same as the finishing results from race number 1. Thomas Belleman. Does anybody have anything for the number 1?
That depends on what happens long run. Belleman definitely looked consistent when it comes to the pace. In fact, looking at some of the lap times that he was able to put up in that race, he kept it within the 1 minute 43 second bracket the entire race within a tenth of a second. Picture of consistency for him. You know who also did that once they got clear? Michael Yanni. So Yanni, I think, might be able to try and put a lot of pressure on this one if he's able to keep up in the short run and stay up there. Some of these air drivers definitely going to have to pick up that consistency, like Polasek in a few hours, Nate Stewart, the NASCAR drivers in the field. Going to also be pushing hard to make sure he's able to defend with a lot of these drivers like Cologne. And how about the 39 Severt just behind him, going to be pushing fast.
Always love looking at the different setups these drivers have for these esports championships. Alex Penn in particular got the virtual reality goggles on, so he is totally immersed in the simulation experience right now. And I think in some ways, just the sense of space around you in virtual reality is so good that I think it can be a competitive advantage, either that or triple screens. If you're on a single monitor, you don't have that peripheral vision, that sense of speed and the awareness that you sometimes need, especially navigating very tight corners. That will also be a topic when we head to Circuit of the Americas in our next round, because there's a lot of corners you can't even see the exit of on a single monitor when you drive down there.
Absolutely. It comes down to driver preference, but VR is one of those things where you're able to put your head on a full swivel, see that exact mark like in real world. The only thing you can't do now in the sim is block out the sun with your hand.
Yep. Which has been a topic as of late, hasn't it? Time to go racing. Race 2 here for Toyota GR Cup North America Esports. This is, again, a 25-minute race. Thomas Belleman is your pole sitter. Yanni alongside him, Castro, Polasek, Rold, Hibbett, and many, many more. Green flag, and we're underway again. Race 2, round 1 underway.
Start there for Bellman, but already some door painting. Castro, a bit of a squeeze up the track. Yanni, I think right now, just trying to make sure he keeps that side by side. If he can keep it all the way to turn 4, that would be the preferred line. Some drivers having a bit of the wiggles there in the mid-pack, it looked like. Yeah,
heading up the hill towards 3 and 3A. This was the trouble spot last race. Couple cars offline. Kevin Rold's way outside. And is there a spin? Somebody's going around Christian Menz. Oh, boy. I think they got it all straightened out, but they're still banging fenders. Trying to get it sorted here.
Menez having a bit of a moment there. Absolutely in the heart of the field. Some drivers react to the radio, just barely made it through, and I think that car is absolutely destroyed. Yes, the 95 has to tow it.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Just got caught up. It just got real tight. And again, it's really where the line narrows up for real for the first time in the lap, is heading over the crest of 3A there. Here's Blake Townend and Clay Morris side by side into turn 7.
People just trying to get defensive right now in the heart of the Hornet's Nest. 3 wide, that's not going to work with the squeeze. Somehow, Cole Hooper did not turn Clay Morris. I'm surprised Morris survived that with that squeeze as a couple hours through the hippity hop.
Yeah, watch this again. The light blue car on the very inside here. He's going to slam into this curb. It's like rolling into a parking spot and hitting one of those curb stoppers at 10 miles an hour. It'll just jack the car straight up in the air. Big slide here through 10. Gathers it up, sends Clay for a ride. Chris Wetz will get by both of them here, I think.
I think he'll get at least one, maybe. Cole Hooper, good drift, good save to be able to make sure he didn't destroy the car. There it is right there. Wentz able to do, indeed make that spot up as expected with the short run. Him trying to push. Oh, that's a bit of a bobble, and that's a bit of contact. Landry's got a problem now. He's broken the car.
He slammed the pit wall because he was following, watch this, he was following Camden Hibbett and turned in unsighted too early.
I don't think I've really seen this too much outside of console games here. Landry, I think, was trying to settle past and kind of just lost sight of the wall. Oh, the 50's around as well.
Yeah, that's Russell Soto. That's big damage for him. There's been more calamity off the 28. They got collected here, top of the hill.
I did say the intensity level is going to be higher, and once those here in that, Sen was there absolutely from the inside, but watch, try to clear himself. Yeah, didn't get the give and take from the 28. The 28 wanted to keep it side by side. He tried to clear himself. Yeah, just didn't have the room, drifted a little wide, and they just got hooked together. And it's an unfortunate feeling because you can't unstick at that point. You've already got the momentum and trajectory to that wall, and there's not really a lot of pavement to give you the friction to slow down. Here comes Aiden Kirk in the 28 from
Tech Sport Racing move his way through the field here. Down towards the bottom of the order in the first race, but now has a group of cars up the road. I think he can get by.
Yeah, especially if things stay the way they are, already up 4 spots right now. Nicholas Sudik is not making friends.
Oh,
say hello
boy.
to Jackson Tovo. Say hello to Contact. Sudik is now under attack by everybody.
Yeah, that it was a little dicey there at Contact, and the 41 of Monsivice is going to go around. I think he got corrected off the nose of Sudik. And it's getting physical back here, isn't it? Watch this again.
This is like Sudik's run from 2024 where he was able to make a lot of spots in Contact. This race, he's not been able to move up, and now he's got tons of contact. It has not been a fun time for the 78, last on track outside of Ethan Tovo.
Yeah. Oh, and a slip up there for Jack Woodfin, and it's real awkward back here. Everyone's just trying to get a couple of clean laps in. But we'll check back in at the front. Belleman once again setting the pace. Andre Castro has retaken second place. Yanni to third. Polasek, Rold, Hawken, Hibbett, Stuart McConaughey, and Severn, the rest of your top 10.
You know who's starting to pull away, though, is Belleman, absolutely putting on the clinic of consistency once again. 143.7 last time by. And that's going to be difficult to do lap after lap after lap, because even when looking at stopwatch from the previous race, Castro still had slip-ups where some laps he was an extra 10th or 2 off, and that's the problem. And that's the tough thing to be able to keep up with this one machine today is there's been little mistakes from Belleman, and everyone else has made at least one minor mistake, and that's where Thomas has really ran away from everyone else with how in focus he's been.
I think this is a natural result of this championship being competitive and pretty popular on the internet, but Polasek, the driver that was consistently the best last year, Michael Yanni the other, third and fourth rather than first and second. Castro has shown up to party. Belleman has as well. We've got some new players here, Hawken and Hibbett. And I don't think that this racetrack is going to play into the strengths of guys like Hawken, Hibbett, Nate Stewart. The bigger tracks where you've got more straightaway becomes a bit more of a drafting race. I think we'll see a lot of the experience those guys have in real-world racing really come to play. Hibbett especially. He's very, very good at that draft style racing that we'll see at Road America, VIR, that sort of thing.
I think you can argue the same thing with Polasek a little bit, because remember, Polasek just didn't have the same pace in Sonoma the rest of the season. But take a look at the replay here.
Yeah, watch this.
Got a little bit of the curbing on one side, got a lot of the curbing there. How about two-tire drifting?
Probably a little too much curb, probably not the fastest way around. Michael Montello's off turn 3A.
Drivers that had toe in the last race.
Oh, there's some contact there, I think.
Another bit of contact going uphill once again. 3A strikes again. They were side by side a little bit coming into that corner complex and just didn't clear. There is a little bit of contact on the side by side and it forces the spin.
Yeah, same spot. I mean, that's really has been the Calamity Corner. I don't recall that being the challenge last year. So that might be a new one to contend with for future seasons. There's your front runners, 18 minutes to go, and not as tight as they were from second on back like in the first race, but we do have a battle for 13th place that is under fire. Jake Cummings, Nick Yanni on the attack.
A little bit of a send from Nick. Remember, he was one of the drivers involved in some instances, had a very demolished race car towards the end of the last one. At this point, it's about recovery in the case of Nick. Already up 5 spots, just try to get spots back. Try and get some points, get back on the board. Jake Cummings at this point, he too is just trying to hold on to spots already down on the race. You see him very up on the wheel, very vertical in terms of his setup in the wheel.
Turned into 3A, catch him making the right, back up over the crest. Nice and smooth, looks pretty relaxed as well. Oh, really late on the brakes into 4. And Nick Yanni off course just the slightest bit up the road ahead of him.
Just a tiny bit, not too much, no harm. So it's just a matter of making sure you're able to not have any mistakes when you're bumper to bumper at this point. Bert, we were expecting him to be one of the drivers very solid. We've seen him very good. I think he feels pretty confident on the speed, just holding onto that top 10 right now. Aiden McConaughey is up plus 5-2. Give a shout out to the 71.
Yeah, to Holly Ridge, North Carolina, new to this championship here this season. Performing very well. And up inside the top 10 in a championship like this is certainly an accomplishment in your opening round on debut. 19 years old, too. A pretty interesting age spread as well. We've got as young as 14, and I think 40 was on the upper end of what we've seen in this field. So, of course, we just saw the other day the new category added to Toyota GR Cup North America Real World Championship this season for drivers over the age of 45. Sponsored by the WEX Group partner that is joined on for 2025 as well. So exciting information on the series side there.
It adds some extra excitement for those that are veterans in the series, you can argue, in terms of experience, in terms of those looking to have fun that are maybe on the older side, but also it adds that championship within a championship, as the tagline says, that adds that extra bit of intrigue for those that are looking for that chance to win some hardware and see their experience pay off for a title.
Andre Castro has run down Belleman just 2.5 tenths of a second. It was up towards 6 or 7 tenths a few laps ago, but he slowly reeled him in. And as soon as these two start to fight, Yanni and Polasek will be all over the backs of both.
Yeah, Polasek, I think, needs them to scrap a little bit to really go up there even more so. Absolutely. That's the tough thing. We know at this point, we've seen this with how things were before, after the caution flag, I should rather say, in race 1. Castro got calm. Yanni picked up the intensity in the final 5-10 minutes once he knew the laps were ticking away. At this point, if they get too aggressive, they can lose Belleman, and right now Castro is getting a bit paranoid with Yanni's runs here.
Had to go defensive. Yanni had overlap to the outside, but it's such a challenging place to make a move there and carry speed. Yanni and Cologne doing the same thing back here for 12th spot. And those tire bundles, I promise I have tested them. They do not move here in iRacing, so you don't want to run into those. They will not budge.
No, they're pretty stiff. In fact, it's like driving to a concrete wall with the tires, so they don't give a little bit of squish. So, very much so. Don't touch anything that is not pavement, and you end up having some problems here.
It's a pretty good rule in general, I'd say. But especially here in iRacing, those tire bundles, again, like they're rock solid concrete. They do have tire bundles that move. Those are not some of them. And the first time that you figure that out is the last time that you'll ever try to move them on your own. But great battle here shaping up. It's really a 3-horse race. It seems like Polasek is just clinging to the coattails of these front 3. But like I said, as soon as you start to poke holes in the defense of Belleman, it's going to stack everybody up. And I don't know that Kevin Rold's really close enough to take advantage of that, but it won't take long to be involved.
Yeah, it's been a great day for Kevin Rold, actually, when you think about it and look at the big picture of things, because last season, memory serves, he was more so 15th-ish, 10th-ish, give or take. Today, Rold has looked a lot more sporty to be able to keep himself in the conversation, especially with some of the scrapping we're still seeing right now. Yanni a little bit more patient this run. See him right now driving in the fair darkness, just a little bit of sunlight peeking through, I think, to light the room.
Battles going on in turn 11. Blake Townend, Jake Cummings, Wan Shi Lin. How about the 30? It's come up quite a ways from where he started the night, out of Schenectady, New York, not far from where I hail from originally.
I mean, I talked about this before, where he was just trying to go smooth operator position after position. And we've seen that a couple races last season in the 1 hour format, where he made up a lot of ground and was able to at least get to the head of the second pack a few times in the later portions of the season. Barber comes to mind, for example. So it shouldn't be a surprise to see Lin doing what he's doing. The tough thing is, competition's stiff out there. It's about dead even on pace right now, and there's only 12 minutes to make up ground.
Yeah, and I think qualifying, if that's his weakness, it's fairly easy to take a stab at fixing that because his single lap pace is really good later in the run when the car's low on fuel. That's how you qualify. But it's something about performing when you need to in the moment and just getting one good, fast, clean lap. That's the important piece, I think, that is missing here. He's going to have a look at Jake Cummings off into turn 7, though. Opens the door. Really tight quarters here. Watch that curb on the apex. He'll stay clear of it. And now it's who's going to back down before the S's. Lynn.
Yes. Job there. I will say one thing in terms of one of the cars in the line. This may be slightly off topic. This may be one of the first times I've ever seen Aaron Smith, that car right behind Lynn, in a not all yellow race car. Because for those who have followed along, always is number 70, always is yellow with a black number. But now with the Podium Motorsports colors on the car this season, has picked up that different look for this series with what he was able to do performance-wise last year. So a bit of a different look for someone that made himself known as being the guy with the yellow race car.
Maybe they'll know him, the guy with the black and red race car at the end of the season, although probably need to get a little bit closer to the podium if he really wants to contend for the season title year-round. The battle is on for the lead, by the way. 10 minutes to go, and these top three are effectively locked in a battle. The second Belleman makes a mistake, Castro is close enough to pounce.
Yeah, they're getting a little bit quicker in terms of that consistency. Last time by, Belleman actually may have had one of his more mistake laps. 143.9. To the Andre Castro lap of 143.6. Everybody was able to get Castro last lap by a couple tenths. And that's how thin the margins are in this series this season. A couple tenths can be considered a big mistake instead of like a couple seconds. And this is all causing that bottleneck. Belleman going to be feeling footsteps really for the first time since the start.
Yeah, Polasek is even closed in as well. Trouble for McConaughey, turn 7. Gotten looped around right in the racing line as well. So hopefully he can get back rolling without too much more drama. He was on his own. I wonder if this was just a mistake under braking here. Did he get the curb? Oh, it just stepped out. Just carried a little too much speed. Might have locked the rears there. Too much brake application, and around he went.
Too much speed, absolutely. And there goes that top 10 run they're talking about looking so great in this race. In fact, Alex Penn, for good measure, gives a little bit of an elbow there.
Yeah, that's always so frustrating because the competition's so close. There's so many cars on the racetrack so close together. Any mistake where you lose track position, you lose a lot of it. It's not like you're losing 2 or 3 spots. It's 10, 20, 30 spots.
Absolutely. But once again, talking about how things are looking up front here. These drivers are starting to see some slip-ups on time here. The track temperature range with the 94-degree Fahrenheit range with how things are looking. The sun's been beating down through this a little bit more hotter on the temperatures compared to earlier. Might be seeing that little bit of a pace fall off compared to before. But right now, these drivers just following the groove of the car. Yanni a little bit loose this time, though, with the carousel. Had a bobble on entry, cost him a little bit of time there.
Polasek and Yanni have battled door to door for more laps than I think everyone else has combined with anybody else. BIR last year in particular, the battles they had in the rain where Yanni stuck the nose up the inside and Polasek went sliding down the hill at South Bend. It was wild. And I hope that we get to see that again. I don't know what the season holds for weather, but we will likely see a wet race here or there. Wan Shi Lin, Jake Cummings trading spots again for 14th.
All of that being said here, they're running out of time. There's only 5 estimated laps to go. As, oh boy, Castro not a great run to the corner. Yanni again getting blocked off. And here comes Polasek. He just about hit him, trying to go for the crossover to get alongside and take advantage of Yanni outside.
Yeah, he got balked there a little. He was trying to get the nose up the inside of Yanni on exit. But Yanni did a nice job to cover that. But he lost 0.7 of a second, and it's going to take him the rest of the race likely to make that up, unless these 3 go to battle, which they appear to be doing. Belleman a little offline. Game on.
To try and take advantage of that now, it's been difficult to get alongside the one, let alone past him. Castro, another slide. got a little bit too much of the curbing there, and Yanni taking advantage once again, like race one. This is exactly what Bellman needed.
Yeah, and Bellman loves watching this in the rear view. Already 0.7 of a second clear as they went side by side through 4. They know that they can't do this for very long if they want a chance to win this race, but they might be willing to settle for second.
I don't know if they want to settle.
Way out in the dirt.
That's not good whatsoever. Not at all. Just took the exit way too much speed, pushed off tight. That nose carried and still somehow didn't lose enough time on there to have it really lose him anything.
Yeah, Yanni tried to over-under Castro there and got run right into the curb. And now it's leaving him vulnerable to Polasek here. The momentum lost drops him right into the clutches of the green and blue car here, the G-Force car. Belleman's got a big smile on his face right now, I bet.
Yeah, just got the breathing room. It's exactly been looking for with that battling. And that's the risk of going side by side. Yes, it's a race. Yes, it's a big chance to make some moves when you go side by side, because you have to go side by side to pass. You don't get it done quickly, you see the cost of it, and now Bellman goes from drivers within 0.3 to this time by the start and finish line. The gap now growing to a second.
Camden Hibbett in a battle here for position. This is for 7th place with Nate Stewart.
But at this point, he's been holding on to these spots. Hey, the heart rate's down a little bit.
I guess so. Not quite as involved in the battle as he was. I'm sure he'd like it to be a little higher. Oh, look at this behind him. Side by side here between the 39 and the 05. Stewart drops a tire in the dirt and will lose another spot.
At this point, I think Nate Stewart will just take the points. You know who's also in the months of the top 10 right now, though? Josh Soto. And Soto, one of the other drivers with some real-world experience we touched upon a bit in different classes of cars so far, just able to march through. Started race 122nd and got to 15th, 15th to 10th. It's similar to last season. Not as great qualifying. Let things off like we see with Lynn in the second pack. Was able to keep things calm, pull off and away. Once things calm down, and now he's in a great spot.
Yeah, really has done a nice job. And again, if you're going to win the title, I think you got to be a podium contender every single round. But again, you get to drop a couple races. If he can be involved in the thick of it when we enter our next round at Circuit of the Americas, I wouldn't mind having a 10th be my drop round. Not a bad race to have be your worst day, if that's what it is for the rest of the season. Jake Cummings, cork in the bottle here, pressure building. Wan Shi Lin, Aaron Smith, Clay Morris, and more.
Oh, this is getting to a defense train at this point. Aaron Smith having a bit of a problem, though, trying to get the defensive line. Clay Moore's got the run, and Lynn got a great run as well. Jake Cummings' problem is not the best place to get it.
Yeah, tricky spot on the front straightaway. It kinks left a few times. You don't really want to be stuck drivers right. If you can hang on drivers right up into turn 2, the advantage comes back your way. Let's go back to Kevin Rold, Brandon Hawkin up through turn 3A. This has been a trouble spot, little bit of a slide there, but Hawkins through on Rold for 5th place.
This is about where I was expecting Hawkin to finish off in this race. Oh, look at this Hornet's Nest again. A lot of curving being taken in this pack. Lynn with Smith. Clay Moore is having to play a bit of defensive line with Blaustein still over the back end. All of this is wild. These drivers are just about stepping on top of each other with only about 2.5 laps to go. They have to be careful not to cost themselves spots. Speaking of spots, they are now focused more on second in the lead. There's the cross with a bump.
Yeah, I don't know that Yanni's going to be able to do much about this here because the track, again, favors Castro for a moment. But again, when I meant settle for second, I meant that they're going to be so busy battling for second that they're not going to have a chance to race for the win. And we're going to be coming back, I think, to 2 laps to go. Polasek's in the dirt, and they're just battling for scraps. And this is worrying. I know Belleman was really good here at Sonoma last season, but if this is what the rest of the season holds for the rest of the field, they've got time to find to beat this one. He really hasn't been under pressure for long today. Maybe 10, 15 minutes in this race in particular. Not much at all in the first race.
Yeah, Thomas Belleman's been able to stretch those legs, put on a dominating performance throughout the entire day as a whole, leading just about this entire day in terms of lap count. Great start to the championship for him today, and kind of solidifies what he kind of showcased in California last year at Sonoma to start the season with the podium.
Clay Morris, Aaron Smith, mirror to mirror up the hill. One of my favorite things about watching the Real World Series, that you can tell that there's been two drivers that have had a great fight, is when the wing mirrors are folded in because they've had a little contact. Second place, changing hands. Michael Yanni to the inside of Castro and Polasek, trying to pick both their pockets here. Is he going to look 3 wide? No way into 5.
Yeah, still able to keep it alongside. Castro has that preferred line, but if Yanni can keep it alongside, might be able to pressurize something. How about Polasek going for the crossover with the good run? Problem is, going to be on the outside, might need to go for a switchback possibly.
He's looking for it. Getting the elbows out here. And around the outside, Yanni goes for a slide. Polasek drivers left. He's through to 3rd place, now onto a podium position. Now just has Castro left before he's in 2nd.
That's not easy to keep it alongside on the outside. We've seen people lose spots by doing that before plenty of times. But in this case, was able to just squeeze the 23 and take away the spot.
Will he set Castro up for a pass here? Down into turn 11, has a look. Castro covers. And white flag.
Yeah, 1 lap to go to do this, was about to say. They're running out of time. And for Polasek, he's got to choose the right spot if he wants to get this done. But Yanni's trying to build the speed back up to be able to get a podium back.
Yeah, that's the challenge, right? Is offense and defense at the same time, and you're a team all on your own. It's like if the Super Bowl had 39 other teams competing. It's not easy to keep your eye on everybody at once. Big jumps over the curbs here, crest of the hill, still 2nd place battle. Bellman is just absolutely lighting the afterburners now. 2.5 up the road, no pressure. California dreaming for that kid, 19 years old. Picks up almost $500 in race winnings if he can finish off this lap.
Great day for Thomas, but Castro through that run to the carousel, build a buffer. This is exactly what he wants to see now. Polasek more focused defensively with Yanni's moves. I know Yanni try and get a little bit physical for that run to the hairpin if he can keep himself close enough to Polasek.
Yeah, behind them as well, Camden Hibbett, Severt, Nate Stewart. This is a battle for 7th place. I think Hibbett had lost a spot to the 39, so he's retaken that position back, and it's not done until we get to 11 and 12. Out front, Belleman leads, but the battle's for 2nd. Castro has it. Polasek now looking more in the mirror than he is out the windshield.
And straight to the right for the defensive move. Yanni's going to have to do this the hard way on the outside.
Cross him over. If he can get the throttle down sooner, he'll have a run to the stripe. Here he comes. Battle for the podium spot. Thomas Belleman sweeps Sonoma in the Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League. Castro, Polasek, Yanni to the stripe. No positions change hands. It will stay that way. Brandon Hawken, 5th place. Then Kevin Rold, Hibbett, and Severt. 6, 7, 8. Nate Stewart, Nick Yanni, and more. Josh Soto, I have shown with a black flag. Not sure for what. Be sort of post-race as well, but ooh, all right, that was a battle for the podium, wasn't it?
That got exciting once again, especially with Castro having to play defensive. A wild finish once again. Castro already putting a apology to the radio because he felt like he made a lot of mistakes actually with Michael Yanni.
Yeah, I think that's looking back. If you look at the gap, 3 seconds clear of the field, you'll look back and say, hey, you know, we could have worked together a little and maybe not given up so much time. And you only have 14 races to earn points, and every one that you waste, I wouldn't call a second wasted, but these guys are competitive. It's one less opportunity that that you can pick up the race-winning points. So you got to take out your opportunities when they arrive to you, and sometimes battling for second doesn't make sense when the battle for the lead is just 1 car away. But Thomas Belleman at Hillsborough, California sweeps here at Sonoma. Let's have a look at the race results, and we'll talk to your podium drivers from the night. Boy, what a fun round that was to kick things off here. Of course, we're headed to Sonoma, or sorry, we're at Sonoma. We're headed to COTA in a couple of weeks' time for our 2nd round of the championship. But there's your race winnings for race 2. Belleman, Castro, Polasek, Yanni, Hawken, your top 5. 5 names that I think we're going to see a lot more of, Justin.
Yes, indeed. You also have Kevin Roll that had some great performances. Camden Hibbett should say, up there. But also give a shout out to Nick Yanni, able to recover from what happened in race 1, able to get a top 10 finish on top of things to be able to move himself into said top 10.
Yeah, and looking down the rest of the order, there are some drivers that we saw have some issues. Mauricio Lozano up to 25th from 39th on the grid. Not a bad way to end race 2, given race 1 was a total disaster. So I'll give him major ups there. Same story with Major Monsivice, who's also involved in a collision, rebounded pretty nicely. But all through the order there's drivers I think are going to be looking for a better round 2 at Circuit of the Americas. But that's hard. That's another very challenging racetrack. We start with, I think, 2 of the hardest tracks on the calendar. There, it's track limits and the incident limit that's a concern. And a little birdie tells me there could be some weather involved there as well, judging by the early forecasts for mid-April in Austin, Texas. So we'll see how things pan out. But again, great opening round. But Belleman, the story, bell of the ball here, huh, Justin? Wins both races.
Yeah, puts the gauntlet down straight off to start off the season. This question, though, of can he keep it up race after race? Last season, we've seen things drop back with Belleman in the standings a little bit. Now it's going to be in his court to be able to control the tempo for the next time out.
So we're waiting for the drivers to join us here. We'll get to chat with a few of our podium finishers. Thomas Belleman said his microphone doesn't seem to be working, so we'll give him a few minutes to sort things out. But, man, what great action we had, Justin, going all the way back to the beginning of the first race. Nice, clean opening lap. That doesn't happen often in eSports championships. Proud of those drivers for keeping it together here. It's so challenging just not to make a mess of things when there's 39 cars and everyone's going for cash prizes.
Absolutely. And usually, especially when the start of a brand new season, the jitters might be there where you might see people make mistakes. You might see them be a little bit more aggressive because the statement needs to be made of, I want to start off strong. But for these drivers, outside of the caution period, things stayed relatively clean throughout this race today. These drivers put on some stellar performances and some great racing throughout, especially race 2, you have to say, where it was really good racing.
Well, let's see if we got Michael Polasek. We'll see if he's got a copy. Hey, Michael, you got a copy?
Yep, I can hear you loud and clear.
Hey, Michael, great to have you back here. Reigning champion of the Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League. And, man, every season, you do multiple championships. It always seems like things heat up as far as the competitive aspect. You won a lot of races last year. Battling for a podium, Thomas Belleman, so quick. What's your thoughts after this first round?
It's definitely going to be a tough fight. There's obviously the usual suspects up front, and they've all gotten significantly faster than last season. The new 25-minute race format's definitely going to cause a lot more chaos as well. And with this track being normally a track I struggle at, as well as a track being that's just very difficult to pass on, this was always going to be a challenging round for me. So I'm happy I was able to bring home P4, I think, in race 1, and then P3 in race 2. And we'll just see what happens at COTA. It's definitely going to be a very different style of racing, probably more aggressive, where there's a gap, you just got to go for it. Otherwise, you're going to be passed by about like 5-6 cars maybe. And COTA is going to be a very different racetrack, so we'll see what happens there.
Justin?
I will say when it comes to this, though, in terms of that competition level, who are you watching out for from your perspective, actually, in terms of contenders? We've seen Belleman perform in a similar way at California last year in Sonoma with the podium. Where do you see things stacking up in terms of that competition level, knowing that bar's been raised and you add in some of the drivers like Brendan Hawken that we're expected to be also up there too?
Yeah, there's definitely a few more scary names, to say the least. You obviously got Andre Castro, Michael Yanni. Who else? You got Camden Hibbett as well, who was really fast race 1. Brandon Hawken, as you said before, is really good. Definitely pretty much anybody inside maybe the top 10 has a shot at winning one of these races, especially because this is the track, I think, where pace matters the absolute most, just because it's so hard to pass here. At a track like COTA, it's obviously a lot wider, and with a lot longer straights, the draft's going to have much more of an effect. So it's just about positioning yourself at the end of these races. And I feel like that's something that I've been very good at this past season. So I'm hoping that's going to play into my advantage this year.
Michael, thanks for your time. Congratulations on the podium here in race number 2. Looking forward to seeing you again at Circuit of the Americas in just a few weeks.
Thank you very much.
And Thomas Belleman joins us now. Sweeps Sonoma. Thomas, I see you're from Hillsborough, California, so sort of a home event for you of sorts, but 2 race wins to kick off this season. It's a great way to start. And for lots of the afternoon, you didn't even really have a whole lot of pressure. So what makes you so good at Sonoma?
It was definitely the home advantage. Obviously, being from San Francisco and racing at the track a couple times to Spec Miata, it definitely helps. But I think today was really mainly based off consistency. That's what we were working on this week, making sure that any tenth or two that you make in different corners would definitely cost you the win or the chance of fighting for it. So that's what I worked on, and luckily today it pulled off and got the wins.
Yeah, we head to Circuit of the Americas here in a few weeks. Sorry, Justin, I just want to ask one more thing about the upcoming event at COTA. 2 very challenging racetracks to start the season. What are your thoughts on that upcoming event on a place that's got so many twists and turns?
Yeah, that's also definitely going to be a lot of consistency. There's going to be a lot of draft playing into it, so it's going to be a lot more racecraft towards the end of the race there, but we're just going to have to be practicing a lot more for COTA, especially since it's one of my weaker tracks. But overall, I think if we can do what we just did this week, I think we have a chance of fighting for some more wins.
Justin?
Yeah, I was about to ask in that situation here too about things, because we've seen last year you were in the podium conversation here at Sonoma on top of things, last year with home track advantage. How has the real world experience really built up in the past year helped you now as well back in the virtual world to be able to put in the speed like you did today and be able to build the gaps that you built?
Yeah, it's definitely helped. You know, I always say that whenever you're fighting for wins and trying to fight against people, against consistency, it's always really hard in the real world. So coming back to the sim, it's usually a little bit nicer because you don't have all the G-forces and all the different things you have to think about as you're in the car. So definitely everything that I've done this year in terms of real-world racing has helped me in the sim overall, and I think it's helped me today in terms of winning and staying the most consistent at the top of the field.
Thomas, thanks so much for your time. Congratulations. It's so hard to win races in this championship, and you were in it last year, saw how challenging it was to compete at the front. So 2 race wins to start off the season. A great way to kick things off at Sonoma. Looking forward to seeing you here at COTA in a few weeks.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Justin. Wow, what a fun opening round here. I don't recall a lot of moments where we didn't have something to watch or look at here. So final thoughts on Sonoma Raceway. We've got COTA coming up next, which is a big round for SRO America. They put a lot of emphasis and effort into the fan experience there. You can get tickets now for both Sonoma and for hashtag GT COTA as well. But Justin, a great debut for the season again here in California, virtually in iRacing, but we head to Austin in a couple of weeks in the virtual world to kick off round number 2.
Yeah, it should be fun to see what happens in the real world, especially in the next few rounds, to see what happens, because this kind of sets the tone for some of the drivers on what to expect. We talked about that last year with those expectations. We've seen a potential of a lot of side-by-side action to start things off, but also some intense battles in terms of the defensive maneuvers, in terms of some of the groupings, and potentially where consistency is king. And Bellman said it, consistency is going to be king. Especially when we go to COTA, I think, as well, if you want to be able to win that race, knowing how big the draft is and how important, and maybe to try and break the toe with some of those cars next time.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to learn about the draft track at COTA, because we've got Road America, VIR, other really big venues on this calendar where that drafting experience is going to be a huge factor, making passes. You remember Road America from last season, how intense that race got in the closing moments. So much to learn, so much to see in the Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League. But that's going to wrap up our first round here. Thanks so much for joining us. The real series, Toyota GR Cup North America, kicks off next weekend at Sonoma, California. Tickets on sale now. Like I said, you'll hear myself and DJ Clark bringing to the action on GT World and the SRO Motorsports Twitch. So excited to get the racing season underway, and we'll see you next week from Sonoma, California. And thanks so much again, Kyle Heyer with Justin Prince. We'll see you in COTA on April 19th.